Wow, it's not a Monday and I'm doing a video message. So today is Tuesday. You have your feedback and scores for your presentations. Overall, very good job. I know it's hard to put all this together in a really short amount of time, so I commend you for that. I do want to give some aggregate feedback. Not everyone received individualized feedback. If you did not, it's probably because the feedback I would have given would adhere to what I'm going to say in this video message. If you did receive feedback, there may be some overlap between what I said in your feedback and what I'm saying here, so this really could pertain to everyone. I want to start out with a couple nuts and bolts about sources. I was overall very pleased. Everyone was, I didn't have any plagiarism or any, just copying, pasting of sources or just not including any sources. So you need a reference list at the end, and that's true for a presentation or a paper. And then this is something that some people didn't do, is you need to cite sources within the slides or within the text, not just provide me a reference list. You can do that by using indicating with a number within the slides, and then the number is referenced in the reference list. That's not strictly APA, but that's how sometimes it's done in slides anyway, just because of space. The slides, as you can imagine, can get pretty cluttered if you have parenthetical in-text citations. So you don't need to worry about that too much now since you're done with your presentation, but I say that for future reference. Make sure that you are citing in APA style in your issue brief. So that will be parenthetical in-text citations. You should have several academic sources. By that I mean you should have several journal article sources. I didn't dock too much if you didn't have it. There weren't many people who didn't have any, but there were a few. If you only had one, I didn't take points off necessarily, but I just want to give you a heads up for the issue brief. You should have, I don't like to really set hard numbers for things like length or for the number of a certain type of source, but you need to have that evidence there for your topic, for your issue. That's an important type of evidence to provide. Okay, so let's get to the bigger picture stuff here. So I need to take a drink. So I found that people kind of either got the point of the issue brief or they just didn't. This is not a research paper. This is not a descriptive paper where you just tell us all a bunch of information about a topic. That type of paper is easier to write, as I'm sure you're finding out or you've found out, than an issue brief is. I'll reiterate that the reason that we're doing this is because this is more real world. This is more applied. This is something that you may actually have to do in the public health sector or in the healthcare sector. Maybe some of you already have had to do it. I don't know. So let me reiterate really what sets the issue brief apart from just a regular old research paper. And most of you got this, but you can hear it once more. You need to have a defined issue. I told you that you don't necessarily have to follow to the T the template that I gave you, the outline. There can be some variation and some variability in the organization. However, I would suggest that you put the issue statement pretty in your face, pretty upfront. So you may give a short bit of background and then boom, here's the issue, and then you can provide some more background. What you don't want to do is provide a whole bunch of background and then say halfway through, this is the issue. You want it to be right there. And I'll even tell you, some of the best ones are the ones that actually contain the issue and the solution in the title. Someone's, and I apologize if I'm getting this wrong, I think it was Laura Rodriguez did the telemedicine solution to physician shortages, and look right in her title. The title is something like telemedicine, viable solution to the physician shortage issue, or something to that effect. And you see that in published issue briefs fairly frequently. In issue briefs, the solution that's being proposed is as important as the issue itself, and should be kind of right there in your face too. The issue brief should turn around the issue and the solution. Everything else kind of is in the background. Everything else is there to support either the defined issue or the defined solution. Keep in mind, it's not that we're saying that this distinct defined solution that you're proposing is going to completely eradicate the problem. That's almost never the case, and that's kind of a given. We all know that. Telemedicine is not going to completely solve the physician, primary care physician shortage we have in rural areas. But it's a distinct solution, it's a distinct step that we can take in the right direction. And then you can mention some other alternative solutions. I think that's a good way to go. What some people kind of went down the road of proposing, here are 5 or 6 things that could be done that would help. Well, that may be true, but you need to focus in on one of those. Maybe 2 in conjunction if they really are kind of interdependent. But then you also can get more in depth on the implementation, because if you're proposing 5 or 6 options for solutions, you don't have enough space or time to talk about implementation of all those on the level of detail that you need to. And besides, go back to what the point of an issue brief is. It's not throwing in everything but the kitchen sink. You want to motivate people to make a change, convince people that taking this step will move us in the right direction. If you have too many proposed solutions in there, you just kind of lose people, and it pretty quickly starts to feel like, well, this is just another paper that, isn't really poised to become reality. Hopefully that makes sense. Be careful, this wasn't as big of an issue, but some people spent too much time on the background, and they were still talking about background 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through the presentation, and then we got into the solution. So just be cognizant of that. That's kind of a slippery slope, because there is so much information out there for a lot of these topics that I think it's easy to have a lot to say about it. Really, we want to just kind of, I'm not telling you this just because we have a restriction on space and time in this course, but I mean, it holds true for if you were trying to publish an issue brief in real life. You don't want to get too bogged down in the background. We don't need to know everything about the issue. We just need to know some of the most compelling points. Boom, boom, boom. Here's kind of what you need to know about this in order to evaluate whether or not my solution is going to work and is going to help. I'm moving on to a little bit more about the solution, and then I'm done. So when you're proposing a solution, we had some really good examples of this, and I'm really glad that you all got to watch or listen to others' presentations as well. The best ones, and some of this unfortunately is left to chance and kind of what work has been done on your particular issue. Some of you, unfortunately, there just hasn't been worked on that much, so maybe there aren't any really good examples or much good evidence out there to kind of guide you. But part of it also is you looking for that information. So, Morgan McFarland did food, nutrition and food availability. I'm sorry, Morgan, I'm forgetting the exact title, but her proposed solution was, well, go back and look at her presentation. It's posted there. She pointed to several different programs that had previously been in existence, and I'm also forgetting the names of those, but like food carts that bring fresh vegetables and things like that. Green carts, was that what they're called? I've watched so many of your presentations now, but that would bring healthy foods into urban areas, into food deserts. And so her solution was comprised of, bringing more programs like that into urban areas, kind of expanding on that idea that has worked in certain cities. So, if at all possible, that's the ideal situation. You want to look at what's been done on kind of a smaller scale and see that, say, this has been tried. Here's some evidence to show that it was effective when tried in Los Angeles or in, rural Southern Illinois or whatever is applicable to your topic. And then I'm going to take that idea and expand upon it. We're going to take that program and make it statewide. Or maybe if there has been a state, a couple of you were looking like state healthcare reforms. Okay, it's been tried on the state level. Maybe expand it further, expand it regionally, expand it to the federal level. But you need to be able to show some evidence that your proposed solution will work. Because look, it's been tried here, or a slightly different thing has been tried and that worked, that saved lives, or that saved money, or whatever the case may be. I hope this has been helpful. Please feel free to reach out to me. You don't have too much time left to finish your paper, but hopefully, now that you've gone through all this work of the presentation, you have the material there, and with this additional guidance, you can put it on paper. Someone asked a question individually to me, are you allowed to include graphics? Yes, you are. And like I said, I'm not really a page counter, but just bear in mind, if you're including graphics, you do need to kind of offset that with other text. I think that's, you would assume that anyway. Thank you for your attention, and I'll see you online.